Welcome back to TMZ Live, and the fallout from Kanye West's South Carolina rally, the tweets that he has been firing off all week. There may be financial fallout from this. We know what the fallout is as far as his family and what they are going through right now. But the financial fallout has a lot to do with his business success that he's had recently. You know, the new deal with Gap, plus he's the cornerstone really of Adidas.
And the Gap deal is a huge deal for them. I mean, it's a big deal for Gap and it's a big deal for Kanye. The question, there's so much writing on this right now with Kanye's bipolar episode. What is the Gap going to do? What should they do? There are a lot of questions about that, and we have the man for it.
That's right. The man who helps us follow the money every week, DAYMOND JOHN from Shark Tank, is joining us once again. Damon, welcome back to TMZ Live.
Hey, Damon.
Harvey, thank you for having me.
So, look, he has said some incendiary things over the last couple of days, from Harriet Tubman not freeing slaves, to talking about abortion, to talking about divorce, and a lot more. Can the Gap stomach this?
So here's my question. I walk into the room and I say, listen, Harvey, here's my deal. You know, we have one of the most famous artists ever who's ready to, sign up with us, and in the past, he's mentioned that he's bipolar. He said some offensive things, but more about himself. He wears a MAGA hat, and he also talks about him being on pills, but he's also one of the most influential. And we can spend $100 million and Gap's stock has not gone anywhere and sales have not increased, or we can give him a couple of dollars. And because he's one step away from his customers, he can hit millions of people. He's going to get $100 million worth of earned media. So do we do the deal? Okay, you do the deal. After he goes a little off, what's the sentiment when you go in and say, this guy's going through a bipolar episode? Matter of fact, most of the country of the world is going through that. Do we abandon him right now? What's that sentiment going to look like?
Damon, here's the bigger question, I think, for Gap is that Kanye himself raised the point. He said, I need to be put on the board. I'm not on the board at Gap. I'm not on the board at Adidas. And in fact, when we had you on, I believe sometime in the last month, you said that is something that should happen at Gap, that they should put Kanye on the board. So now he has very publicly challenged them to do this. So now it's not just about whether they keep him, but do you put him on the board?
Okay, so as in my comment about him being on the board after this episode, no. All right, so now let's go. Hey, listen, he is looking Nike. They stood by Colin Kaepernick through his challenges, which was way more touchy for Americans, and they came out of it. But, the Gap can also layer with other people because, listen, when Tiger Woods went through their thing, they still had Jeter, they had Federer, and they were able to move off for a second. But, if they drop him or if they don't do anything with him, who are they going to have somebody fighting dogs next year that say something? Or are they going to represent somebody who does racial slurs? Or look at the Academy Awards. Right? It was so critical on Kevin Hart that they made it impossible to get another host because even after he apologized and said, I've grown from that time, they were so critical. You cannot put everybody in a microscope. They knew what they signed up for. They need to stick with them. But as for the board...
They're not going to put him on the board, and I get that because they have to do business, and I get it. I don't see how the Gap can act shocked at any of this stuff. And therefore, I don't think they can cut him.
They can act shocked, but listen, if he does start to say things that are racially biased or violent or anti-Semitic, and you know what, I'm going to give you, counselor, where you would have probably told me, I'll tell you what, because like most networks, you can't no longer be signed or be on the network unless it's a political or news-based, if you're running for politics. Why? Because a political position, because they know they're going to lose 50% potentially of their consumers, and they don't want to get tied up in policy. That could have been a potential exit, but I don't think the counselors over at the Gap said, hey, maybe he's going to run for president, even though he said he was going to do that about a year and a half ago. So that's their mishap, and they could have had an exit with that, but I don't think they need it. I think his customer knows who he is. They accept who he is. Actually, they love who he is because of the way he is. And you know what? Today, the president's talking about, putting disinfectants in your skin and stuff like that. This is the new normal. We're all talking crazy. You should have heard what I was saying to my wife before I got on here. So, I think they should stick with him at the moment, and I think that they knew what they signed up for.
Yeah. I think you need to go patch things up with your wife, is what I think. Whatever you were saying, go take it back.
That's where I'm at, baby.
Okay, Damon, I love this. It really got me thinking. It got me thinking a lot. So we're going to do it next week. We'll follow the money again. Thanks again for the time.
I love you guys.